Welcome to the first official lesson of the Unity course at Alterna. This is going to be an introductory lesson to teach you the basics of the Unity UI and scripts, such as C#, and I hope you look forward to it. Now let's head over to the Projects window and press the New Project button so we can start a new game project. Click the 2D, which is what we're going to be using, and the name, let's set it as Alt-1 for Alterna, and our first lesson. As for the location, you can set it anywhere you're comfortable, anywhere that's accessible to you. For me, I put it in a learning folder so I can put all my tutorials. But again, anywhere you like. Go ahead and unclick this box. You won't be needing this for right now. And go ahead and create the project. This is the actual Unity interface. And this is where most of the process is going to happen when creating the game. Right now, all you'll see is an empty screen and empty canvas here with a bunch of tabs with names on them, which I will get to in a moment. But first, let's say I want to create an object and put it in the scene. I want to create a player. I will make a 2D object, press this plus button here, 2D, sprites, and then I can make a sprite. I want to make a circle now. So I will choose circle, and you'll see in the scene, it will create a circle, as well as in the hierarchy, which displays our objects. So the circle, I guess I could call the player. Here's the circle. It's in the scene, as well as in our camera view here, as you can see here. So let's say I don't want it to be there. I say I want to move it, so I can move it on the axis here, on our grid. Move it down, all up and around. And here we can have different ways of editing it, such as rotating it, scaling it, here, or in the middle here. This is called direct. I can just change the shape of it like this, and this will be a combination. The keybinds for this, you can find on your keyboard as the QWERTY, the QWERTY, the W being the move. Now, let's say I made a mistake. That I scaled it wrong. I actually wanted to go back to the way it was. You can look at the inspector, which displays the information about the object I'm currently selecting here in the hierarchy. So I can press here in the transform or the position and click reset, and now it's at the exact same place. It is at the exact center with no rotation and the default scale, which would be 111. Now I want to move this circle, across the screen, by coding that to happen. So we can go to here into our projects. We can create a folder to our project folders down here and create a folder, and we can call it these scripts to code the game. Here you click on it, it's going to be empty. There's nothing in it, so we can right click again, create C# script, and we can call it the circle move script with no space. Wait for it to load and then open it. So now you'll be presented with a script. A lot of stuff going on the screen here. I can just get out of that. So this is pretty much going to be our main focus for right now, this part. So the class is where our script is going to be, and the voids are going to be where our code starts. So now I want to move it across the screen at a certain speed per frame. That is the goal. Why is that? That is the goal. So under our update method, as you can see, the update method is anything inside the code will be called once per frame. So anything I put in there will be called once per frame. So if I say move to the right once, and it does that every frame, it'll move at a constant speed to the right. So I can get the transform component of the object is attached to, translate or move it in a certain direction. In this case, the direction, we can say vector 2 dot right. I want to move it right. Vector 2 being the grid of the scene. In this case, it's a 2D object, so there's only two axes. Think of 3D and 2D. In 3D, it'd be vector 3. So now it's moving right, but like by how much? So let's say I wanted to move to right at a speed of 5. I'll say 5. Now we want to make sure that this moves out by multiplying it times the time. Dot delta time. This smooths it out, makes it go much slower and easier to see. So now if you save it by either going here, pressing save, or pressing Control S on your keyboard, you can go back to Unity. Wait for it to load. Press play up here on the top. And nothing happens. Well, looks like we failed, guys. Our code didn't work, so that means we're not really cut out for this. Oh, I'm kidding. The reason it didn't work is because while we did write code to move the object, the computer is going to be like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do with this information? Because we just made a file containing a script, but the script is nowhere to be seen inside the actual game. It's just in the files. So we want to attach this to the actual object we want to move. So in this case, the player. So you can click and drag this here, player. And you can see on the inspector, it's attached as a component. So now, if we play this, it's moving. It's moving, guys. We did it. If this doesn't convince you to join game development, I don't know what will. Now let's say I wanted 2 players in the scene and I want them to do the exact same thing, and I just want 2 of the same objects. So what I can do is, without creating another object and attaching the same script and putting in a different location and all of that, I can actually make a copy of the player and make it a prefab. A prefab stands for prefabricated, and if you drag the object into the project, you'll see it turns into a prefab, meaning that I can use this whenever I want by placing in the scene. So if I place this here, you see there's another circle, and that same circle contains everything that the original circle contained, indicated by the blue icon. So now, if we run this again, they're both moving. If we go back to our code, we can see that, this is pretty simple. But as you go down the line, you're going to try to see like, oh, I want this circle to move faster, but our code is so long that where can I find the actual code and then change the speed? It's annoying. It's going to be annoying. So what we can do is we can actually create a variable that we can change at the top of our script that will affect the speed. So I can make a public here under the class outside of the methods. We can make a public declaring its privacy, public. We'll make it a float, meaning it's decimal, and we'll call it the speed of the circle, lowercase. And we want the speed to equal 5, right? In this case, we say 5.0 f, meaning f being for float, and a semicolon at the end. So now we just created a variable, speed. So now whenever we mention the word speed in the code, it automatically refers to the number 5. So now we can go down here and replace speed, and it works the same way. Now I don't want these 2 balls to go outside the camera, because if you scroll out with our middle mouse button, as you can see, it's going to go on forever. So let's say I want it to stop at this point here. So we can go ahead and find this point. Let's say create an object here. Find the point, which would be 10 here on the x-axis. So that'd be 10. So we can delete this. We know it's 10. And we go back to our script, and we can say if transform dot position, getting our position dot x is less than 10, little brackets, we can move this, Control X on the line and Control V. Make sure you dent it with tab. This is basically saying that move the object as long as it's less than X on the grid. So if we save it, it is moving and it stops. Now, I don't know about you, but this isn't very game-like. All we're doing is watching 2 balls move across the screen. So what we can do is we can add an input into the game. We can do this by making another if statement. Say if, and we can put in the colons, move this inside here, make sure it's centered, And inside the condition, we can say if input dot get key, if input dot get key code, let's say space. So we're basically getting the input for the key, for the space key. So if we go back here, nothing happens, right? Because we told it that it only should move if the space key is on. So if we press the space key, it moves. Let it go, it stops. Move, stop. Move, stop. And once it reaches past 10, it stops and we can't move it anymore. Now this will be the end of the introduction. I hope y'all were engaged and maybe want to learn some more. And if you do, maybe you want to move on to the next video, huh? It'd be fun, I promise. But thank you regardless. But with that, good day.